Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is finally going to be a review of the SteeLseries Prime Wireless, the $130 80-gram large ergo that everybody has been asking for, and SteeLseries has finally delivered to us. There are other versions of this mouse. They're wired. One has an OLED screen on the bottom. They're also lighter, but from the reviews I've seen, they have worse features, so I really have no idea. I have the wireless one in hand, and yeah, I'll just talk about it. First thing going to talk about is the build quality. Being an 80-gram mouse at this point, the build has to be absolutely perfect, and it is. There's no flexing, no rattling, no creaking anywhere on this mouse, and my only issues like with the build come on the main clicks. I'll talk about that later, but it's just some post-travel, and it doesn't really cause any problems in games. So the build of this mouse is solid, but the mouse itself, the shape of the mouse, is something I am just not a fan of. For an ergo mouse, it's not really ergonomic at all, at least to me, and I'm somebody who can usually at least get behind an ergo shape. Like, it'll usually work for at least one grip. For me, when I try to palm it, the right side just feels horrible. When I try to claw it, my thumb feels like it has no natural place. The left side is just really weird and jagged. These are like sharp flares. The mouse doesn't seem very rounded out, at least in my hand. I'm sure there's some people who will be able to palm grip this mouse and love it, but for me, whether it's palm grip, fingertip, or claw, this mouse just doesn't feel ideal. And I understand that shape is super subjective, but this is probably the worst ergo I've ever used, at least just in my personal experience with the shape. Because if you do like a sort of relaxed claw, I guess, you can just lay your thumb flat and then it'll be fine. But for me, I have to use the side buttons, like especially in a game like Fortnite. Not only are these horrible, like skinny side buttons that are not as, they're catfishing you. They look sort of big, but the amount of side button that you can actually hit is super fucking skinny and just terrible. And they're also so high up that if you want to place your thumb anywhere near where it would be optimal, you're just not going to be able to hit the side button without moving your thumb up a significant amount, at least for me. So if you cannot tell, I was just really not rocking with the overall usage of this mouse. At just the fact that it was like large and clunky anyway, I had to use faster pads, so I usually just use the Shinkai because it looks nice, but in this case, most of the time, I actually was using the Shinkai or a pad of a like similar speed. Even the Hien, I was just like, man, I should use something faster. The mouse feet, I'm pretty sure this is the only SteeLseries mouse that has these PTFE feet. They are rounded and they do glide well. These are not feet that you're ever going to need to replace with an aftermarket option. They're even not like extremely thin. Really, come on, dude, I swear my camera is getting worse or some shit. Does that happen? I'm honestly satisfied with these mouse feet from a bigger manufacturer, but they weren't the fastest feet I've used, but overall the glide is fine. Next thing to talk about would be the main clicks. They're called the Prestige OM switches, I believe, and the main buttons are optical, and for optical switches, these are super crispy. I'll do a sound test. And as you heard, that's a pretty unique sound for a mouse switch. I'm not somebody who obsesses over sound, but the feeling of it is also very tactile and just good. Like these switches are not bad. They're the best opticals I've felt in a mouse. I will say that. The design of the mouse does allow for some insane amounts of post travel, as you can see, more so on the right click, but this really just doesn't affect the click feeling. Also, a pretty good amount of pre-travel there. They're definitely heavier than what most people are used to, but this is kind of just like, imagine the Rocat optical switches done right. That is what these are, not a hint of mushiness, just a bit heavier, and I think that's a pretty solid trade-off. Overall, the main switches are good. The scroll wheel, it's just a pretty average SteelSeries scroll wheel. It doesn't feel modern, if that makes any sense. It just feels fine, though, so no complaints. Clicking it down is super fucking heavy. So if that's something you do, it's like really hard to do for some reason. But yeah, the wheel itself is fine, just feels a bit old. As I mentioned before about the side buttons, I think they're dog shit. I think they're positioned way too high, and they're also catfishing you. because they don't look extremely small when you like see it on video. But when you feel it in hand, you realize that like the amount of surface area you can hit is just so little. And they're also like basically inside of the mouse. There's not a lot of room that protrudes out, especially on mouse 5, and they're tensioned well. That's the most annoying thing. It's just literally like a stupid design in my opinion. These nobody has ever been like, yes, I want something that's skinny, narrow, hard to hit over something just like big and easy to activate. They could easily do that, but they don't. Whatever. Sideline rant over. Next thing to discuss is the coating, and I think this is a pretty good coating. If you have sweaty hands, it will like pick up the sweat on the mouse, but this texture has always been very grippy. It isn't rubberized whatsoever. It's just like a textured, grippy plastic, and I like it a lot. It just makes the mouse feel sort of premium, I'll be honest. And all of the criticisms up until this point, just fucking ignore them because this mouse has USB-C. That's right, you can plug it in either way to save yourself a potential 2 seconds, maybe one time. And that's it. It is charging. I understand the benefits of USB-C, and obviously that's why it's much better value than the G Pro Superlight. Come on, USB-C and $20 less? That's a no-brainer. But yeah, I guess this is kind of the ideal, like, charging adapter, dongle, whatever fuck you want to call it, scenario. And yeah, I mean, that's solid, I guess. And I would tell you about the battery on this mouse, but the software just doesn't see the mouse. I did an update on the software. I've restarted my PC multiple times. I just don't know what it's going to take. Multiple USB ports as well. This software just does not want to recognize the mouse. And the mouse doesn't have a DPI button, so that has been an issue. I'll be honest, that's been a slight inconvenience, you know. The mouse hasn't died on me yet, and that's all I can really say. And I like SteeLseries' software, especially with my Apex Pro, but it won't see the mouse, so I don't know what I can do in that situation. Comment if I'm just being an incompetent fool. Oh yeah, but I was talking about, or no, I wasn't. The True Move Air sensor. I don't know what this is based on. They say it's in collaboration with Pixar. I would presume it's a 3370. It feels on par with like top opticals. I don't know why so many companies just won't admit they're using 3370s or just give a number. I guess the normal consumer doesn't care, but something like True Move Air just sounds lame as fuck as well. Like, give it a cooler name at least. But yeah, the sensor was honestly up to par with what I expect a wireless mouse to feel like. The sensor position on SteeLseries mice used to be stupidly low. You can see it's not at the center of the mouse, but it's not as bad as it was on the Aerox 3. If you are a wrist aimer or somebody who knows you prefer higher sensor positions, this mouse won't be for you. But if you arm aim, you probably won't notice it. I used to not notice it, and then I went to a higher sense, and it became a lot easier to notice sensor position shit. Is there anything else to talk about this mouse? God, I hope not. The price, the overall value, is this the mouse for you? In my opinion, probably not. If you're like ergosexual, maybe giving it a try for palm grip could work out. The like grooves, they're not really even grooves. There's something going on with the main clicks, as you can see, and it makes them feel sort of comfortable, but they're not significant. And clicking this mouse was probably the best part about it. They don't have the fastest rebound, so it's not like incredible for spamming, but they're very consistent feeling clicks, and that's really the shining point. But if these are like proprietary, then that's just taking away from other companies that could make use of having good optical switches. So SteeLseries, please put these switches in like a medium to small ambi mouse, maybe. Wait, fuck. They did that with the Aerox 3 and it sucked. I don't even know. I think SteeLseries is kind of doomed, at least for making a mouse that works for me. But yeah, maybe some ergosexuals will love this. That is the biggest recommendation I can give it. I just think that the Vaxi Outset AX is a much more welcoming shape, and I would just never like spend 1/3. Like, I'm actually gonna refund this mouse. I can't explain to you guys how little I do that, especially on non-Amazon products, but this is not worth $130 to just sit around and not get used. That was like an epiphany I just had. But yeah, I still really like the Outset AX shape, and it just fits for me better than the Prime Wireless. If you want more info about the Prime Wireless, find it somewhere else. I refuse to talk about it anymore. Like and sub for more enthusiastic and detailed reviews. No seal of approval. God bless America.